Welcome to another episode of Stack Your Points. As always, I'm Matt from the Matt Clausen YouTube channel, joined by RJ from Do You Take Cards. RJ, how are you today?
I'm well. It's Monday. Chase was nice enough to drop a little bit of news before we recorded and not tomorrow morning, which I would have been annoyed as I was editing the show because the news wouldn't have been in there. So I'm glad that they did it at the appropriate time.
So, what you're telling me is you're glad that Chase did something today, whereas Capital One did something Tuesday morning of last week.
Yes. Which,
Okay.
again, if you're going to do it at least Wednesday so it's good prep for the live, don't do it on Tuesday. News should not drop on a Tuesday.
I will respectfully disagree. I need news whenever I can get it.
You know what, Matt? I'm not the EP for your channel. I'm the EP for this channel, so I'm going to put my foot down about Tuesday news.
As the EP for my own channel, I got nothing. All right. We are also hoping to be joined by Call Me Lonnie in just a little bit. Life is lifing for Lonnie. Craig is on assignment. Tariq remains on assignment. So it's just us for now. Hopefully Lonnie will drop in. But yeah. Oh, one other thing we noticed today. Today was WWDC Day. No Apple Card news.
No, you mentioned it in the Discord. Shout out to stackyourpoints.com where you can join our Discord. You mentioned that maybe we would get news. We didn't. I don't know who's taking them. Somebody mentioned Capital One in another Discord I was in, thinking that they might go to the Discover network. I don't know if I can see that. I don't think this person was a credit card person. I think that they were like looking at the major carriers and are like, "Oh, we'll see if Capital One on Discover wants to take the Apple Card." The Apple system doesn't work well with Amex or Discover, so the Apple Card being a Discover card would be very funny.
They'd have to fix that system real quick. But if anyone could do it like in a OS update or three, it would be Apple. Also, all of your OS devices are going up from 18 to 26. There's just six versions. They're just completely throwing into the wind. And fun fact, the 26 doesn't even make any sense.
It does. It's like a car. It's the next year. It's the year that it goes into. So 25,
Is
26 gets
that
dropped.
the rationale that they're using?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I
that's
thought it
exactly why they're
was
using 26.
okay. Because my brain was going, oh, when did Mac OS X become a thing? Mac OS 10, as of
Mm.
not OS X, Mac OS 10 launched in 2021, not in 2021, Jesus, in 2001, off by about 20 years there, Matt. Mac OS 10 dropped in 2001. Okay, I'm like, okay, so that's 24 years. When did Next Step launch? Next Step launched in 1995. Next Step is the predecessor to Mac OS 10. Doing a little bit of Mac history before we jump into credit cards. And Next Step's like last release preview came out in 1997. So like none of the numbers were adding up to me. But OS 26 for the car model year option. Okay. Whole bunch of gearheads there in Cupertino. So this absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm running the tvOS beta, the iPad beta on a iPad Pro and an iPad Mini, a Tahoe beta on my M3 Max and M4 Air on my phone, which is the camera for this, is the beta, and on my watch. So I have 7 total devices that are all running betas. I put everything on a beta, and this is just my life for the next year. And then my life for the next year will be iOS 27 because this is what I choose to do because I apparently like a little bit of torture with my technology.
Full production machines on the beta. That is living right on the knife's edge.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, I downgrade one of the machines to the safe one and just deal with 6 of the 7 on betas.
Yeah. No, I don't foresee it because again, I didn't download the betas today. I don't have a developer account. I will wait for the public beta and I might put one of my devices on the public beta, but it's really hard right now because I only have three devices. So I don't even have an iPad to spare. I don't have another Mac to spare, and I'm not going to go out and buy another Mac just so that I could throw the public beta on a non-production machine. So maybe I'm just going to wait until Tahoe is officially announced. But interesting bit of Mac news across the board. I thought we would see potentially like a one more thing. Oh, and Apple payments. They talked about Apple Pay, and I thought Apple Card would be one of the other things they would talk about. So a little side quest there to WWDC. Well, let's jump into questions. We've got other side quests as well with other news that has popped up in the last little bit. So jumping into questions. Our first question comes from first time question asker, long time listener, although I know he doesn't listen in immediate order and he's got a bit of a backlog to go. But Dugras from Dugras Reports has asked, what is your just me then thing in points and miles, a technique, use case, redemption, or trick that you use or want to use, but very few in our community seem to care about? An example for me would be Wyndham points redeemed for Vacasa or cottages.com. To me, it feels amazing, but I rarely see anyone else bothering with it. RJ, do you have a just me then use
So
case?
in our pre-show we talked about this a little bit and I feel like I don't, but then Matt and I were talking and he's like, no, that's definitely your thing. And it's I pay cash for a lot. I pay cash. I become smog and I hoard my points for not necessarily like the greatest redemption, but for when I need them. Because if I don't, there are times when I don't want to pay for things. I don't want to take cash out of my account or put a balance on a credit card. And having certain levels of points and miles, especially Delta, because they are the hardest for me to earn without earning Amex points and just transferring. So that's what I do. I also use the portal for MQDs and use my Delta Reserve card when I'm not working a sub. That way I can double dip on the MQDs, but I pay cash for a lot and I enjoy that because I can build up points pretty seamlessly that way.
RJ on vacation, the desolation of points.
Yes.
For me, my just me then is are my redemptions that or my JetBlue adventures that usually start with me redeeming for a blue fare with my points, getting 10% of my points back credited back to me. So if I spend 16,000 points for a seat, I get 1,600 and whatever points back. Then paying another paying $43 cash using my JetBlue card to get my JetBlue spend toward a tile, and then moving up into the preferred seats. They're now called preferred legroom seats or like preferred space seats, but it's the extra legroom seats that aren't paying for even more at the very front of the plane. So it's those seats around the exit row. I usually go with the one right behind the exit row because I don't want to sit in the exit row. I don't want the responsibilities of sitting in the exit row. I know that they have to come and brief and ask if you're okay with it. And I don't want to deal with that. No, the plane's going down. I don't want to be the one who has to punch the hole out and then figure it out from there.
Man, if the plane is going down, they're gonna look at you because you are a big, strong guy and be like, hey, sir, can you actually get this door open? Because we tried and can't.
Better hope it's a ground landing. Yeah. So for me, it's starting my JetBlue adventures, redeeming, getting 10% of my points back, and then moving up to the seat that I want. I will pay cash for the seat that I want. The seat that I want is less than $50 most of the time. Sometimes it goes up to 100. Do I pay the $100? Yes. Why? Because I want to be comfortable on a plane. Shoot me. Please don't. Stack Points
Um,
Podcast does not condone you shooting any of the co-hosts.
this is correct. Have you spent the $22,500 and bought tiles yet?
No, no.
One
I've
day you're gonna do it, Matt. One day you're gonna be like, I'm gonna hit this platinum sub by buying every JetBlue tile.
platinum sub. It might be for a sapphire business card if it comes to it. Speaking of, we're gonna get to
We
that.
will.
So those are a few of our just me thens. If you have any just me thens, please let us know down in the comments. That would be should Lonnie jump on. But we'll move over to our next question, which comes from RP2048, who asks, what's a better general catch-all card? The 2 times Wells Fargo Active Cash. I'm going to add the 2 times Citi Double Cash. the 2x Capital One Venture X, or the 1.5 times Chase Freedom Unlimited. Keep in mind, if you get the 1.5x in the portal, he's talking about the Chase with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. You get an effective return on spend when redeemed for travel at 2.25, whereas everything else is at 2%. I'm going to start with I don't understand the well, I do and I don't understand the qualifier. Adding the qualifier is convincing yourself that you don't need to worry about everything else, just stick with the Freedom Unlimited. With that qualifier with the Sapphire Reserve, and that assumes that you have the Sapphire Reserve. If you don't have the Sapphire Reserve, you either have a flat 1.5, which is less than 2, or you have the Sapphire Preferred, which will bump up at 25% to 1.83 times, effective 1.83% when redeemed for travel through the portal using the Sapphire Preferred. Yeah, which is less than 2. I think for me, and RJ and I spoke about this a little bit in the pre-show, realistically, if you're going to get the flat earning card, whether it's 1.5 or 2 in an ecosystem, you're likely pairing it with the best possible option for redeeming points in that ecosystem. So if you have the Wells Fargo Autograph Journey, or if Wells Fargo decides to launch Beyond at any point, Autograph Beyond at any point, like it makes the most sense to pair the active cash with that, because the active cash is going to give you that floor. If you're invested in Capital One, it makes sense to pay for Venture or Venture X, and Venture X news is what it is, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Then it makes sense to pair with Saver, assuming you can get Saver. So I think the ecosystem that you're in, the ecosystem that you want to be in, the ecosystem that works best for you for whatever your needs are going to be, it through the portal, be it through transfer partners, because you're not even taking into account, like, I could move my active cash 2% to the autograph, and then the autograph, I could transfer those points out to British Airways, and then use my British Airways Avios to book Qatar and do Q suites and have an amazing redemption that comes out to 6 cents per point, making my effective return on my active cash 12%. But that's not where things started for you. So I do have to take into it, pre-prefacing it with the Sapphire Reserve and the 1.5 in the portal is just trying to convince yourself that you need the 2.25. And I'm not saying you don't. You go for the 2.25, but I will say, whatever ecosystem you're looking to work, that's the catch-all to get. RJ?
Matt, I'm going to tell you a
Yes.
secret. I'm going to tell you
Yo.
a very important secret that I wish that the community would understand. There is no such thing as the best catch-all. There is the best catch-all for you, or
Yes.
me, or the viewer, or whoever. If you look at the active cash, if you look at the double cash, if you look at the Blue Business Plus, if you look at whatever, right? All of the 2x 2% cards. Flip a coin, right? Like you might like Citi, you might not like Citi, you might like Wells Fargo, you might not, right? So there's going to be some differences. And Wells Fargo gives out cell phone protection like candy. Not everybody does, right? There are some little differences, but they're all the same. It depends on you and what you're looking for. I don't put my cell phone on anything but my Apple Card. So what cards have cell phone protection matters 0% for me, personally. Other people will only use a card with cell phone protection so they don't have to buy it, and they'll go through the hassle of dealing with that, which is different than the hassle of dealing with Apple if
Yep.
they have a problem, right? So we will answer any questions that come in that say, what is the best X, Y, or Z? But there's not a best overall in most cases. If you even look at the Venture X, the Sapphire Reserve, and the Platinum as they are now, there's going to be caveats for the best card in every respect, right? The best versus cost, the best versus AU fees, the best versus lounge access, the best versus travel credits. Like every one of those categories may have a different winner. So
Yep.
just be careful when you're positioning the best as an overall question, right? Because that I don't know if we're ever going to be able to answer that satisfactorily to everyone. Now, if you say, I have this card and this card, I like this hotel and this airline, what's my best option? We can come up with an answer that I think will be more satisfactory to people. So I'm not saying don't submit these questions. I'm just saying if you want us to be able to actually give you an answer that will probably satisfy what you're trying to ask, because if you have the Sapphire Reserve, my answer is different than if you don't have the Sapphire Reserve. If you have the Preferred, my answer is different, right? Because if you just have the Freedom Unlimited, yeah, you can use the portal, but you're not getting redemptions and you're not transferring points, right? So context matters for these questions because in most cases, there's not a best. So be careful when you're asking about what the best is because we'll answer it, but I don't know if our answers are going to satisfy anybody.
Yeah, we can answer to the best of our ability and still get, well, actually. But I will say the best general catch-all doesn't exist because it would be the no strings attached, no nonsensical steps that you have to do, 2.5 everything card.
Yes. Which technically, if you want to be technical about it, the Hilton Honors Business Card is 2.5 MR to 5 Hilton points, but you don't get
Yeesh.
MRs, you just get Hilton points. So it is with a standard 1 to 2 Hilton, it is 2.5. This is the math I use, guys. This is a peek inside my brain. And giving
Talking
Matt a hard time.
uncapped. I'm talking, yeah,
Yeah.
well, because yes, the hotel cards, the hotel co-brand cards will have higher floors based on their ecosystems. The IHG cards, I think, have a 3x floor. The Hilton cards all have a 3x floor, except for the business card, which is just 5x everything up to $100,000 in spend. And I can go on and on. Not going to, but the best general catch-all card is the one that works best for you. So our next question comes from Thick Boy, who asks, with the exception of Hyatt, since the redemption value can be reasonably high, transfers from banks to hotels should, at least in my opinion, be 1 to 2. You can get that with choice through Citi and Wells Fargo and Amex to Hilton. You can even do with IHG when you cash out points and buy them on sale. You can also do the same with Hilton. With all of that said, does anyone consider transferring points to hotels outside of these parameters being a bad value proposition? I'm going to start off with, if you need to finish a booking in Marriott or IHG or Hilton or wherever, leading hotels of the world, if you need to finish a booking and your points in whatever ecosystem can get that done, and it's going to be a great vacation for you, just move the points. Like you're not going to be moving so many points that it's going to have such an adverse effect on your ability to regain those points. To me, and you have various sources like IHG, Hilton, Marriott, Hyatt, built all the way around. Built covers all four. Choice, you got Citi, you got Wells Fargo. Hilton, you got Amex, you got Built. If you need to finish a booking, transfer away. Don't worry about the value proposition because you're making your vacation happen. Make your vacation happen. If you need to transfer 5, 10, 15,000 points to make that happen. What's 15,000 points? It's $150. Would you rather take $150 out of your pocket when you didn't need to? Or would you rather take 15,000 points from a stash that may be several 100,000 points deep that have no value until you either cash them out or move them as intended? Would you rather use 15,000 points or pull $150 out of your pocket? I ask you this. And I'd say it like an old country lawyer, but I don't want to. So I don't think it's ever a bad value proposition if you need to complete a booking. Lonnie, I'll throw to you on this one.
Yeah, I don't 100% disagree with you, but I will add on to it as well. So Of course, topping off, if you have a booking where it's 100,000 points, well, the booking is 115,000 points and you only have 100,000 hotel points, then yeah, it's great to top off, as Matt said, that extra 15 just to get it done so that you can finish making that booking. The other time would be when there is, and this only happens every so often, so pay attention when it does, a ridiculously offer transfer offer. Now, and what I'm talking about is not like a 1 to 2. Sometimes I've seen Marriott with 1 to 3, 75%, 80%, 100% bonus from Chase, or when it's Hilton, I think Built did a 3 to 1. So for every 1 Built point, you get 3 Hilton points. Also in the Lyft app, it's 3 points per dollar as well for Hilton if you don't do Built, or it's not Delta anymore because Delta went to Uber. What's the other one? I can't think.
Alaska.
There it is. Yeah, the Delta or Alaska. I know that's not necessarily a transfer point, but still it's kind of like a transfer point. That would be a good time to transfer them if you needed to from whatever bank issuer card you have to the hotel as well, as long as you, and I will put an asterisk on there because it's as long as you can use it. So just because it's a great Hilton offer, I'm going to use Built again, saying 1 Built point equals 3 Hilton points. That's a great offer. But if you're not planning on staying at Hilton or have an exit strategy for those points once they're at Hilton, you might want to leave them with Built, which is what I currently do. All my Built points, I literally call Plan B, ironically enough. And that's if I need to top off, if I need something extra, because they're so versatile. They go to so many different airlines, they go to all the major hotels. So when I need to, then I will do that. Going back to an episode, what was it, last week or week before last, of how far in advance do you plan? This is a great scenario to help explain that. If I'm going to plan a year out in advance and I know I don't have enough hotel points to cover whatever that trip is going to be, I got plenty of time to hopefully wait for Built to drop a bonus transfer offer, and then I can take advantage of that before I actually make that hotel booking. So that would be one of those types of scenarios I would look into. But other than that, I don't necessarily transfer points unless there's a desperate need to. And that would be one, a top off, or two, I'm just going to use a United, even though I got plenty of United miles. But let's just say I got 100,000 Built points right now. I'm not going to use them in Built. I'm not going to use Built's travel portal. Then yeah, I would just say I know I'm going to use them with United. I'll just transfer them out to United in that way if I needed to. But that is literally like last case scenario.
RJ, your thoughts here?
Points are worth nothing until you use them. If you want to take a trip and don't want to pay cash, then use your points. If you don't like the dollars and cents of that, then don't use points. That's what I got. I think we focus too much on value proposition as like this finite thing where we're going to get a medal if we do well and we're going to get sent to the principal's office or the corner if we don't. Like, what can you stomach? Because what a value proposition is to me is going to be different than Lonnie, going to be different than Matt. We can talk about absolute value, or we can talk about, is it the difference between taking a vacation and not? If it's the difference between those two things, use every point available to you, right? Like, I understand what you're getting at. And I'm not saying get your face ripped off, but also look at context. If I have 500,000 points in whatever currency I'm using, is using 50,000 that I really could use 35,000 and do all this, or just use the 50,000, book the trip and have fun. Like, I get what you're saying, but I also would ask you to take a step back and look at it contextually. Because this is a question like the best catch-all card of it depends. If you have 100,000 total points, it's going to be a very different answer than if you have 300,000 because that matters. Do you spend a lot, right? Or did it take you 10 years to get those points? If it took you 10 years to get 300,000 points and you can't replenish them as quickly, that's going to be different than if you can have a bunch of work travel and have more points than you know what to do with, right? That is contextual that matters, that is maybe a quote bad value proposition to somebody who takes longer to earn points. Like Lonnie can earn more points than I can off of work travel because I have zero work travel and he has all work travel, right? Like It's a different value proposition. So he can do things with his miles that if I had the same, I could in theory, but I don't have that avenue. So it's something to think about is what do you mean by bad value proposition? Do you mean in overall absolute numbers? Then if that's your thing, then take a look at paying cash. But like Matt said, if it's the difference between $150 out of your pocket or 15,000 points and you have 200,000, like to me that's a no-brainer, even if it's quote bad value 1 to 1. So again, as I often say, context matters. It depends. Here we are.
Yep. And those transfer bonuses can definitely help ease your trouble mind on those for sure. Because you get the 30% Amex to Hilton, it's 1 to 2.6. You get the 80% Chase to IHG, it's now 1 to 1.8. Do I wish more hotels did 1 to 2 based off of their point valuations? Sure. Do I wish the Wells Fargo Autograph Beyond was an actual credit card? Yes. Do I wish I could have snap my fingers and be on a phone call with Jamie Dimon tomorrow? Yes. These are not things that are going to happen. I Fair. Okay. Tim Cook instead. How about snap my fingers and have a phone call with Tim Cook? Wow, Lonnie does not
I
want to
just
talk to the rich or the powerful.
I just want to know, why would you want to talk to Jamie Dimon? What question would you ask Jamie Dimon?
What question would I ask Jamie Dimon?
What does the new Sapphire Reserve look like? And can I have one now? Can you give it to me now before everyone else gets it?
Oh, I would so do the Stephen Colbert. Give it to me now. No,
Yeah,
actually,
you're gonna get in front of Jamie Dimon. You're gonna ask for a new card that you could just order
no.
online. Come on, see, this is what I'm
No.
talking. This is why I'm shaking my head. No, like,
That, that, what would I ask him? How is he preparing for the? No, you know what? I'm going to leave that question there because that could go places, and we don't necessarily want to go to those places. So, fair enough. Maybe I'm not getting on the phone call with Jamie Dimon tomorrow. All
and
right,
also Tim Cook is actually a very approachable person. I've seen him
he
walking
really
his
is.
dog. I've literally
Oh,
seen him walking his dog.
okay, got that. Anyway, so yeah, our last question for the mini mailbag for the mailbag section. We've got 2 other questions, but we're going to embed them into other portions of the show. Stick with us. Last question here from Double Animal Fries is: with the constant talk of devaluations, coupon wars, problems with credit card, YouTube, etc., what positive trends have you observed over the years? RJ, what positive trends have you noticed?
The Stack Your Points Discord? Like, that is a super positive thing. Like, we help each other out. Sometimes we go full sibling mode and start debating each other, and things get heated, and everybody cools down, and it's fine again. Right? Like we're passionate people, but that Discord is super positive. The community in comments here for Stack Your Points is really positive. The conversations I have had with both of you, and Tariq, and Kid, and the Discord in general, that is all positive. I think talking about the credit card community and having it be people who participate in it and just simply give content to it is going to be a very broad tent. If you talk about the little fiefdom of a specific creator and what they can build. I think that is tends to be more positive because like we all have mod power, right? If somebody is acting a fool, we can have them not, right? We can simply either talk to them or have them leave. So we can control to a certain extent the experience people have and make it a positive one or make it one where you can learn or ask questions, make it one where you can have debates on certain things and it works. So to me, the community around this podcast has been incredibly positive over the last nearly year. I can't believe we're coming up on a year, but it's been really positive. And seeing the conversations and seeing people's strategy evolve and seeing all that has been really positive. So I would say that to me is something that I've observed that makes me smile and really does bring a bit of warmth to my cold dead heart.
There you go. Lonnie, positive trends you've noticed?
I think I have to say my favorite positive trend is leaning in on RJ or expanding on RJ, and that would be the openness of opinion. And what I mean when I say that is that when I started my channel roughly a year and a half ago now, and I know Matt, you started yours literally
couple
almost
months
around the
before
same
you.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost around the exact same time. Before then, there were only a few, I will call them leaders or strong voices within the credit card space. And now we see new creators pop up almost like every single month there's another new creator. And I'll be the guy to go ahead and drop names, but we have Points with Philip, we have Sunny Money, we have Jordan Rules of Credit. The other Matt, I can't think of his last name. Dude's down in Miami. Can't think of his name right now, but he's also a really great new creator as well. And I will say that's definitely a positive trend because one, it brings in new experiences, especially from people from different backgrounds, have different geographical starting points, i.e., somebody might be someone on the East Coast and lives next to a Publix versus someone that's on the West Coast and they don't have Publix, but they have something else in which they can use credit cards for that can optimize spend, get extra points. And then next thing you know, people are starting to share those types of things. I've said it before and I've gotten many an accolade as no one really talked about point stacking until I came in. And now it's like a foundation topic. It's one of those standard things. This is part, everybody needs to look into that. And I don't want to be humble enough to say, toot my own horn here, but I am actually pretty proud that I was able to introduce not just what that is, but how people could do it or how they could be doing it better. And I've had people reach out to me. You've seen it in my comments. Man, I never knew about that. I didn't even know you could do that. Those types of things. And now I'm just using me for by example. But then there's other people. For example, I'm going to use Jordan again, who's literally going through a wedding with his credit cards. We've all talked about, even myself, a wedding is a great way. Let the wedding pay for your honeymoon. And this dude created a channel and he's actually doing it, those types of things. So I would say that's a positive trend about how we're sharing so many diverse and unique experiences because we're all going to learn from somebody. Whatever you think you're not doing all of it. You're not, I guarantee you there's something more you could be doing. There's something more that you could be learning. And by listening to other people, have other people in the community to share those experiences is the way that we're going to learn. I've learned from other people, and I had a pretty great setup before, and now I have even a better setup now. And so I would say that's one of my favorite, most positive trends is seeing all the new people or hearing all the different perspectives and experiences and how everyone has this jigsaw puzzle, this Rubik's cube of credit cards and how they solve it for themselves, but then how you can actually take from a little bit from this side and a little bit from that side, a little bit from this side to make your own little strategy for your own self.
Yeah. No, piggybacking on that, positive trends. 5 years ago, there were probably what, 8 major credit card creators that you could name off the top of your head. Like everyone would know like the big 8 if you were to say there were 8. There was like Nam Win, Humphrey Yang, Humphrey, is it Yang? Humphrey, to a very lesser extent because he was more personal finance, but Graham Stephan, there was Sebi, there was Credit Shifu, and now there's so many more. Lonnie mentioned a couple of creators who've started up recently. There's also like John R, who's a good friend of who's a friend of ours across the channels, across our channels. John's in everybody's lives. Like John is a huge supporter across the board, and he's getting close to 1,000 subscribers. Like he started his journey in starting a channel. We have a bunch of other perspectives. You got the rewards master who forgoes like major hotel stays because he is about international business and first. You've got Dugras, you've got a couple of folks who have gone kind of inactive, but you do get other perspectives like Matt Welter, like Darius Jamal, forgetting Eric's last name, or CJ. You got Sledge, you've got Chad, you've got all these creators where 3 or 4 years ago they weren't making content. So like you've got all of these added perspectives, all of these different approaches to things. Key, from Key Adventures, Yiji Dano, who's like this interesting new creator I stumbled across, who like was doing fitness stuff and then transitioned to credit cards in like the last 4 or 5 months. It's interesting to see. Was it fitness? It doesn't matter. You've got Mertz's points perspective. You've got Spencer Johnson. You've got all these people, and you got all these different ways to approach things. Stan, the Credit Frog, Joe Barretto, like all of these names, right?
You're not going
And
to
it's
remember all the names.
no,
Matt.
you're not.
You're going to try.
I'm
but you're
amazed
not
I
gonna
remember I got as far down the rabbit hole as I did.
Apologies for anyone that we appreciate you and we did not call you out, but we know you're there.
Yes, but it's different perspectives across the spectrum, right? It is, I have done, this is how I've approached these various things. This is how I get This is how I get American status without setting foot on an American plane until, and then when I do step on an American plane, I get all of the luxuries as if I've been flying American for the last 15 years. Lonnie's approach with United, others' approaches with Delta, some folks who forego the big three airlines and take different perspectives there. Like, that is a huge positive. And then the conversations that we can have in our Discord and some other Discords can be positive. Overall, like the community is growing, the perspectives vast. So those are definitely positive trends, and ways to kind of discuss other ways to look at devaluations or coupon wars, or see like what can work for you. Take these negatives and turn them into some advantages here and there. So with all the negatives, there's definitely positive trends, and the biggest is just watching the YouTube community, the YouTube perspectives grow, which creates better conversation across the spectrum. Thank you all for listening to this week's episode of Stack Your Points. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up here? Cool. All right. Well, you can find us at stackyourpoints.com. That is www.stackyourpoints.com. We have a new feature there where we just have an ongoing playlist of our videos that drop there. Our videos drop on Wednesdays and Fridays on YouTube. The full episodes in audio form now drop on Saturdays. And we have new mini mailbag on topic days. Topics are going to be on Mondays. Mini mailbags are going to be on Tuesdays, so check those out on the channel, on the YouTube channel. We do a live on Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Usually it's just RJ and me, but sometimes Tariq will join us, or we have a couple other guests. Lonnie is typically stuck in dad time, but like dad time is sacred, and we will not take away from that. And yeah, just check us out at stackyourpoints.com. You can find all of the resources there, find all the ways to contact us there. We look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.